My name is Emma, and I'm 16 years old. Life hasn't been easy lately. Ever since my mom remarried, my world has changed completely. At first, everything seemed okay, but slowly things became uncomfortable. My stepdad, Rick, always acted nice around my mom, but whenever she wasn't there, he was different. It made me nervous. I never shared this with Mom because she seemed happy, and I didn't want to ruin things. However, deep down, I felt something was wrong. I kept quiet, hoping things would get better on their own. But that silence only made things worse. One evening, I was looking for my favorite necklace, a gift from my dad before he passed away. It was usually on my bedside table, but today it was gone. I searched everywhere, my heart beating fast with anxiety. How could it vanish? It meant so much to me. I checked under my bed, inside drawers, and even emptied my backpack. Nothing. A bad feeling settled inside me. Who could have taken it? I suddenly remembered Rick had mentioned something about cleaning up the house earlier. Could he have moved it by accident? Or was there another reason behind its sudden disappearance? The next day at breakfast, I quietly asked Rick if he had seen my necklace. He stopped eating and stared at me strangely. After an awkward silence, he smiled and said, "No, Emma. Maybe you misplaced it somewhere." His smile felt forced, and I noticed his hands shaking slightly. My mom quickly changed the topic, talking about our weekend plans. I didn't feel reassured at all. Instead, suspicion began growing inside me. Why did Rick look so uncomfortable? I tried to push these thoughts away, but they stuck with me all day. Something wasn't right, and I had to find out what it was. That afternoon after school, I decided to search around the house again, this time more carefully. As I went through our cabinets and drawers, I found something strange in Rick's office drawer. My favorite earrings. Those had also gone missing weeks ago, but I assumed I lost them at school. Now, here they were, hidden in his drawer. My heart raced and I quickly shut it, feeling scared. Why did he have my things? Was he stealing from me? But why? I knew I couldn't confront him without proof. I decided to watch him closely, determined to uncover the truth before it was too late. Days passed, and I secretly observed Rick's movements. I noticed he often went into my room when he thought no one was watching. It gave me chills. My mom seemed oblivious, always trusting him completely. My anxiety worsened. I started losing sleep, feeling trapped. One night, I heard footsteps approaching my door. I pretended to be asleep, breathing quietly. The door opened softly, and I sensed Rick entering. He stood quietly, breathing slowly. My heart pounded loudly in my chest. Why was he here? Then, after a tense moment, he left silently. I realized I needed real evidence to show my mom. I decided to place my phone secretly to record what was happening in my room while I was away. The next day, I set it behind books on my shelf, making sure it wasn't noticeable. I went to school anxiously, unable to focus on anything. Returning home, I quickly grabbed my phone and watched the footage alone in my room. My hands trembled as Rick appeared clearly in the video. He opened my drawers, took some money, and even held my missing necklace, smiling strangely. Tears filled my eyes. I finally had proof. I knew I needed help immediately, but who could I trust? I called my best friend, Sophie, telling her everything. She listened quietly, then said seriously, "Emma, you have to tell your mom." I felt scared, knowing how much my mom loved Rick. What if she didn't believe me? What if she blamed me instead? Sophie convinced me it was the right thing to do. Gathering my courage, I waited until Rick went out that evening. Mom sat in the living room watching TV. Nervously, I sat beside her, tears forming. "Mom," I whispered, my voice shaking, "I need to talk to you about Rick. Something terrible is happening, and you must know." Mom's expression changed immediately, becoming worried. I showed her the recording, watching her face closely. As the video played, her eyes widened in shock. She covered her mouth, tears appearing in her eyes. "Emma," she finally said softly, "I'm so sorry. How could this happen?" She hugged me tightly, crying quietly. I felt relieved, thinking she finally understood. But suddenly the front door opened. Rick had returned early. Mom quickly wiped her tears, putting the phone away. My heart froze. Rick smiled at us suspiciously. "What's going on here?" he asked calmly, sensing something had changed. Mom tried to act normal, but Rick noticed her shaking hands. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice strangely sweet. She forced a smile. "Nothing, just watching TV with Emma." Rick didn't seem convinced, eyeing us suspiciously. He stared directly at me, his smile cold. Fear overwhelmed me. Had he overheard our conversation? "I'll be upstairs," he said finally, slowly leaving. As soon as he left, Mom whispered, "Emma, pack some clothes. We'll leave tonight." I quickly agreed, realizing the danger we faced. Quietly, we prepared to leave without alerting Rick, knowing we didn't have much time. Packing quickly, I grabbed essentials and followed Mom downstairs. We moved quietly toward the front door. My heart raced with every step, afraid Rick would suddenly appear. As we reached the door, I heard footsteps upstairs. He knew we were leaving. Mom's hands trembled as she struggled with the keys. "Hurry, Mom," I whispered desperately. The footsteps got louder. Finally, the door opened, and we rushed outside, running toward the car. Rick appeared at the doorway, yelling angrily. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice frightening. Mom quickly started the car, speeding away from our house, both of us shaking uncontrollably. We stayed at a motel that night. Mom cried a lot, feeling betrayed and confused. I tried comforting her, but I was just as scared. The next morning, we went to the police station and showed the recording. The officer listened patiently, nodding seriously. "We'll investigate immediately," he assured us. Even so, Mom was worried, afraid Rick would find us. The police suggested we stay somewhere safe temporarily. Mom called Aunt Lisa, explaining our situation. Aunt Lisa warmly agreed, inviting us to stay with her. It felt comforting knowing we weren't alone. Still, the fear that Rick would find us lingered. At Aunt Lisa's house, I finally felt somewhat safe. However, my mind wouldn't rest. I kept thinking about Rick and what he might do next. Days passed quietly, and Mom gradually became calmer. We hadn't heard anything from the police yet, increasing my anxiety. Every noise made me jump, scared Rick might appear suddenly. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Hesitatingly, I answered. "Emma, it's me," Rick's cold voice said softly. Panic filled me instantly. "You think you're safe, but you're not." The call ended abruptly, leaving me trembling with fear. He knew exactly where we were hiding. Immediately, Mom informed the police about Rick's call. They promised increased protection, but our fear only grew. That night, we barely slept, checking doors and windows repeatedly. Early morning, we heard a sudden knock. Our hearts stopped. Slowly approaching the door, Mom looked through the window. Relief flooded her face. It was a police officer. Opening the door, we learned Rick had been arrested nearby while trying to find us. The officer assured us Rick couldn't harm us anymore. Mom hugged me tightly, sobbing with relief. For the first time in weeks, I felt safe. Maybe now, things would finally improve. After Rick's arrest, Mom and I gradually rebuilt our lives. Still, memories haunted me sometimes, causing anxiety. I began attending therapy, learning to deal with my feelings. Mom and I moved into a smaller but comfortable apartment. Slowly, laughter returned to our lives. One day, Mom sat beside me, gently holding my hand. "Emma, I'm sorry I didn't notice earlier," she whispered. I hugged her tightly, forgiving her immediately. Together, we promised openness and trust from now on. With therapy and Mom's support, I started regaining confidence. The scars remained, but I felt stronger each day. Months passed, and I gradually felt normal again. School was better, and my friends were supportive. I even started joining after-school activities, feeling happier. But one afternoon I received an unexpected letter. It was from Rick, sent from prison. Shaking, I opened it carefully. "Emma, I apologize for everything," it read. "I never meant to hurt you or your mother. Please forgive me." Tears filled my eyes, remembering the fear he caused. Although confused, I knew forgiveness would take time. I realized healing wasn't simple. Rick's letter brought back pain, yet also reminded me I'd grown stronger. Today, I stand stronger and wiser. This painful experience taught me resilience, courage, and the importance of speaking up. Life had thrown me into darkness, but I found my way back to light. Mom and I learned that family means trust and genuine love. Rick's letter still sits in my drawer, unopened again. Maybe someday I'll forgive him. For now, my focus is on the future, feeling hopeful and ready to face whatever comes next. My story isn't just about surviving. It's about learning to truly live again. With Mom's love and my newfound strength, I'm finally ready to move forward.